We're going to start the meeting, everyone. Welcome to City Council, December 8, 2020 City Council meeting. This is our last meeting of the year. We've got a light agenda. Hopefully we'll get through this. So this meeting is being recorded by video and audio in accordance with the state open meeting law, consistent with the governor's orders suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and banning gatherings of more than 10 people. This meeting will be conducted by remote participation. Additionally, all votes taken by the City Council during this and future remote meetings will be by roll call vote. If you are calling in on a phone, you can press *9 to request to speak. If you are watching on a computer or device, there is a raise hand button that you can tap or press to request to speak. Please use either of these options during oral communications to be recognized to speak. All right, I'm going to try to do my best to recognize everybody this evening. I'm going to start off with the City Council list first. In no particular order, I'm going to go from my left to my right. We have myself, Councilor Steve LeBlanc. We have Councilor Barry Pett, Councilor Val Gilman, Councilor John McCarthy, Councilor Melissa Cox, Councilor Jennifer Holmgren, Councilor Scott Memhard, and Councilor Sean Nolan. And we don't have Councilor Jamie O'Hara, but I'm sure he will be joining us shortly, and I will announce when he gets here. Also on the meeting this evening, in no particular order, we have our mayor, Mayor Taken. We have our city clerk, Joanne Cenas. We have our assessor, Nancy Pappas, Gary Johnson, Tim, where's Tim? I'm trying to get everybody. Tim Good. We have from our school, we have our superintendent, Ben Lummis. We have our chair from the school committee, Jonathan Pope. We have Kathy Clancy. We have, let's see here, and I think that's it for our school committee. I haven't looked at the attendees yet, but I'm just going to announce who we have here. We also have our harbor master. We have our acting CAO, Vanessa Krozik. We have our trusted Kenny Costa and Donna Compton. We have our CFO, John Dunn. We're planning, let's see here, our community development team, Jill Cahill and Greg Catamatori. And let me bounce over to our attendees. And we have, let's see here. And I don't think I see anybody on the attendees. We do have.
You had our legal counsel.
Oh, and we have our legal counsel, Chip Payson, as always. We have 25 people on the panel, and we have 17 attendees at the moment.
I have Eric Smith, and I'm assuming it's Chief Smith as an attendee.
Let's see. I'm sure he's, I don't see him, but let's see if we can, Eric Smith. Yeah, let's see if we can promote him to a panelist. Chief, are you there?
Yes, sir, I am.
All right, we have our fire chief, Eric Smith. So you're a panelist now, buddy. Okay,
All right,
great.
thanks.
Also, Joe Lucido.
And we have DPW Joe Lucido. Okay, I'll try to do my best to get everybody. We have quite a few people from the administration here this evening. So welcome, everybody. Madam Clerk, can we have the next order of business, please?
First order of business is oral communications.
All righty, so the public shall have every opportunity at every regular scheduled meeting to be heard under oral communications on matters not appearing on the agenda. Oral communications shall allow any resident who has a request or complaint of any nature relative to city business to appear before the council, state their problem without debate, and the matter shall be referred to the proper agency through the office of the mayor. The resident will be notified within 2 weeks prior. Can I get everybody to mute themselves, please? I got a lot of just chatter in the background. The resident will be notified within 2 weeks period relative to disposition of same, and copies shall be forwarded to the city council. Persons speaking under oral communication shall be limited to 3 minutes each, and the council president shall not allow any complaints as to individual performance. All right, so we have a couple people looking to speak under oral communications. Okay, we have, and forgive me if I mispronounce your name, Leotine Hartzell. Can you hear me? Nope. Leotine?
Okay, there we go. Now
Okay.
I'm unmuted.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Hi.
Hi.
Name and address for the record, please.
Leontine Hartzell, 10 Hammond Street, East Gloucester.
Go ahead.
I understand that the vote is up this evening to approve the condos at 116 East Main Street. Is that correct?
Yes, we're going to decision to adopt later on this evening.
And this is the appropriate time to speak about that matter?
It's on the agenda tonight.
It's on the agenda.
Yeah, we typically don't allow things that we're going to be voting on to speak during oral communications.
Okay, okay. So I should wait. I should wait until later.
Yes.
Okay,
All
thank
right, Thank you. All right, let's see. We have Richard Emmanuel. Name and address for the record, please. Mr. Emmanuel, can you hear me?
Yes,
Name and address for the record, please.
149, 153 East Main Street. Reverend at the church. I would like to make an
Mr.
inquiry.
Can we have your name for the record also? I know I said it.
Reverend Richard Emmanuel,
Thank you.
149, 153 East Main Street, reverendатthechurch.org. I would like to ask for an inquiry by the legal departments of both the city and the state as to the validity and the function of the Zoom conferencing. It does not appear to be representing due process of the system. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Emmanuel, and we'll get something for you in the next within 2 weeks, and it'll be sent to your email. Thank you, sir.
Counselor,
Yes.
sorry to interrupt, but the lady that was speaking earlier, I'd hate to have her wait until the end of the meeting, and it's really not open for discussion at the end of the meeting for when we move to adopt. So if she has a question versus a statement about it, I'd like to go ahead and hear it at the will of the council.
Okay, I don't have a problem with that. Let's see if we can get her back on. Mrs. Hartzell, do you have so typically we don't take comments and stuff like that, but if you have a question, so this matter is going to be coming out of the committee report, and it'll be a council discussion. We're not going to have a public hearing on this. We've had a public hearing on this earlier in the year, so this will be just a council discussion. But if you have any questions, Councilor Cox would like you to ask them now so we can bring them up during council discussion, please.
Great. So I read the recent article. Thank you for giving me the opportunity, and I
Not a
appreciate that, Melissa Cox. I read the recent article in the Gloucester Times and was really dismayed to read that the council did not realize that they had to stipulate or itemize their objections to the condo development. So my question is, how could that have happened so that legally this got pushed through the land court when the council had originally last summer, when I was there, voted against it? And I'm really baffled at how the city of Gloucester could have gotten run over in the land court, and that the developer got this approved or given the green light by the land court when the city and a large number of residents opposed it.
Thank you, Mrs. Hartzell. I will have, the mayor's office will have a response for you within 2 weeks, just so you
Thank
know.
you.
That doesn't come from us, but we will get you something shortly.
Thank you very much.
All right, no problem. Thank you. All right, is there anybody else that would like to speak on the core oral communications? Let's see here. Olympia, Luis, can you hear me?
Hi,
Name and address for the record, please.
Olympia Palazzola, 57 Western Avenue, Gloucester, Mass.
Thank you.
Two things I wanted to, one thing is my husband's listening next to me, and 3 years ago, he asked to have someone get back to him about putting a stop sign at Maplewood Avenue in Prospect Street and Railroad Ave. And that has never, no one's ever addressed it at all. It didn't go before the Traffic Commission, I don't think, or anyone. So just putting in another request for that at this point.
Either stop sign or a
Or yield,
yield sign. at
stop or
least.
yield sign there. So
Stop
people
sign
know
would be
whether,
better.
people know what they should be doing. It's a bone of contention every time we go through it. And then the second thing that I have a question about is you have a long agenda tonight. Everything that comes up, are you going to stop in between to let people speak on this, on everything that comes up, like the tax classification and people that want to talk about 116, are they going to be able to talk? How are you working the meeting tonight as far as everything that's a long agenda? That's why
So-
I'm asking this question.
So the meeting this evening is if it's not a public hearing, and it's not, so if it's not a public hearing, we will not be hearing from the public. So,
Okay.
so these things that are gonna come out of the committee report, which will come out of Budget and Finance and will come out of, so the 116 East Main Street is not going to come out of a committee report. This will come out of a vote to adopt or a decision to adopt, which we typically do after we approve a decision to accept a special council permit or deny a special council permit. So this is a council discussion, and also the tax classification will be out of the committee report. So none of these will be a public hearing this evening.
So tax classification isn't to speak about that at all from the public? Have you already done that?
We typically don't do, we have this come out of committee report, which is coming out of Budget and Finance. So we'll have our discussion. If you have a question for us this evening, we
Counselor,
can,
it's a public hearing this evening.
oh, I'm sorry. Okay, let me go through my agenda. Yes, so we will be, yep, there it is. I'm sorry. Yeah, we have a couple public hearings this evening, so we will be listening to public comment or public questions, Louise, during
All right.
the part of this.
What's the next, what is the other one? You said you had a couple of them?
The other one is traffic and motor vehicles on Cedarwood Road. And the other one is Waterways Administration for the Harbor Master Patrol details.
Okay,
All righty,
all right.
so stick around. And we'll-
Counselor,
Yes,
there's also one on the temporary zoning relief to businesses during COVID pandemic.
yes.
Okay,
So under oral communications, even though it's not supposed to be about anything, people, if they wanted, like Melissa allowed that lady to speak about 116. Was it about
East Main
116 East Main Street that she was talking about?
Yes.
How are you going to do something like that if anyone wants to talk? Should they be speaking under oral communications if someone had something to say or not? How does that work?
So Councilor Cox had asked if it was okay for her to ask a question. So if you have a
Right.
question of that, we will take a question, but we're really not taking public comment on it right now. I understand that she kind of spoke a little bit toward the public comment part of it, but we're getting into the weeds here and opening up a can of worms. And we're going to start allowing people during oral communications to speak on things that we're going to be voting on later. So typically, we don't allow people to speak on things that we will be voting on this evening. And 160 East Main Street, we will be voting this later on this evening.
Okay, and there's something about the school, the new school on the agenda also?
Yes, so to adopt a loan order.
And that's not public comment either.
Councilor Cox, that's coming out of the committee report?
That is also a public hearing this evening.
Okay.
So the public hearings are, you're able to speak at, Louise.
Yes.
Yeah.
But anything other than that, there's not, we typically don't take public comment.
All right, so you'll mention it when you come to that part that there, if anyone wants to speak on that? Is that how
Yes,
you do it?
we'll ask if there's anybody to speak in favor or in opposition. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I haven't gone to the bottom of my my template yet, so I'm trying to get everybody in order here with everything, so I apologize.
Yes.
All right, Is there any-
Mr. President, before you lose Louise here, would she repeat where the location in that intersection she's looking for a stop sign? And I'll try and address it. Louise,
Hold on, Barry.
where?
Before we do that, I'll hook up with Louise and give her your number, and she'll be able to reach out to you.
Okay.
All right, so Louise, I'll give you Barry's number later on. I'll text it to you, and then you can give him a call. And,
All right, sounds good.
No problem. All right. Is there anybody else that would like to speak under oral communications? All right, seeing none. Madam Clerk, can I have the next order of business, please?
The next order of business is the consent agenda.
All right, are there any counselors that wish to pull any matters off the consent agenda? Counselor Gilman.
Thank you, Counselor. Yes, I'd like to remove the minutes of standing committee meeting of December 2nd, 2020.
Ready? Is there anybody else that would like to remove anything? Seeing none. Counselor Gilman, would you like to proceed?
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to amend the first paragraph of the committee recommendation vote by inserting "and section 4" after amend section 3, and I so move.
Do we have a second? Okay. Yeah, so we're gonna amend this, this right now. All right,
Thank you. It
Counselor
was just a
Counselor Gilman.
small, thank you, Counselor. Yeah, it was just a small oversight. We just left out a word,
Okay.
just a section in the first paragraph. So it's very simple, but we wanted to get it right for the record.
Yep, I got you. All right, anybody else like to remove anything from the consent agenda? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second,
Has been moved by Counselor Cox, and I'm going to give it to Counselor Memhard because he's going to be awfully quiet. So seconded by Counselor Memhard this evening. All righty, and we're going to do a roll call vote. And hold on one second. Madam Clerk, who do we have for the roll call this evening?
Jamie.
It was
Counselor Pat.
Council Pat.
All right. All right, there's a roll call. Counselor Pat,
Yes.
Counselor Cox,
Yes.
Counselor Gilman,
yes.
Counselor, hold on a second, Holmgren,
Yes.
Counselor LeBlanc, yes, Counselor McCarthy,
Yes.
Counselor Memhard,
Yes.
Counselor Nolan,
Yes.
and Counselor O'Hara is not with us this evening. I will keep everybody in the loop when Counselor O'Hara does join. Hopefully he does join. Motion passes on a roll call vote of 8 in favor, 1 absent. Madam Clerk, we have the next order of business, please.
The next order of business is the Budget and Finance Standing Committee report of December 3rd.
Counselor Cox.
Good evening. I have before you a consent agenda. If anybody would like to pull anything off that consent agenda, please do so now. See none. I move the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, it's been moved by Counselor Cox, seconded by Counselor Memhard. I will call for the roll call. Counselor Pat,
Yes.
Counselor Cox,
Yes.
Counselor Gilman,
Yes.
Counselor Holmgren,
Yes.
Counselor LeBlanc, yes. Counselor McCarthy,
Yes.
Counselor Memhard,
Yes.
and Counselor Nolan.
Yes.
And Counselor O'Hara is not with us. Motion passes to accept the unanimous consent agenda on a roll call vote of 8 in favor, 1 absent. Madam Clerk, next order of business, please.
Next order of business, the Ordinance and Administration did not meet on November 3rd, so it would be the Planning and Development Standing Committee report of December 3rd.
Counselor Gilman.
Thank you, Counselor. On a motion by Counselor Gilman, seconded by Counselor Holmgren, the Planning and Development Committee voted by roll call, 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend that the City Council requests that the state legislators file a petition on behalf of the city of Gloucester requesting that the general court amend section 3 and section 4 of chapter 152 of the Acts of 2020, section 2628 as follows. Section 3, strike the words prior to and insert the words as soon as is reasonably practicable after, so that the section reads, section 3, in addition to the transfer pursuant to in section 2, the Department of Public Works of the City of Gloucester shall upgrade softball field facilities and accommodations at another site-owned open space located at 6 Green Street and 18A Beckford Street as soon as is reasonably practicable after the discontinuance of use of Mados Field associated with the commencement in school construction. Section 4, insert the words, once the land in section 2 is no longer being utilized for school purposes, and as soon as is reasonably practicable, so that the section reads, section 4, the transfer of land in section 1 shall be contingent upon the transfer of land in section 2, once the land in section 2 is no longer being utilized for school purposes, and the transfer of land in section 2 shall be contingent upon the recording of a deed restriction as soon as is reasonably practicable on the land, placing it under the protection of Article 97 of the amendments to the Constitution of the Commonwealth to be preserved for municipal park and open space purposes. And I so move.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor Gilman, seconded by Councilor Holmgren. Councilor Gilman, I don't know if it was just me, but in section 3, instead of saying another city-owned open space, I thought I heard at another site-owned open space. Was that just me? Did anybody else hear that also?
I heard it. I believe you said site.
Site. So instead of saying city-owned open space, I heard site. So maybe you want to amend that word from site to city.
Thank you, Counselor. So I'd like to amend section 3 by deleting city and adding site.
Nope.
No, I'm sorry.
The other way around.
I'm sorry, deleting site and adding city. And I so move.
Second.
All right. Motion to amend has been made by Councilor Gilman, seconded by Councilor Holmgren. Obviously, if there's any discussion on this, we can have it, but I don't think that it's pretty simple. So on the amendment, I will call for the roll call. Councilor Pat.
Yes, and I note that Councilor O'Hara has joined us.
Okay, great. We'll get to him right after this. Councilor Cox,
Yes.
Councilor Gilman,
Yes.
Councilor Holmgren,
Yes.
Councilor LeBlanc, yes. Councilor McCarthy,
Yes.
Councilor Memhard,
Yes.
Councilor Nolan,
Yes.
and Councilor O'Hara. I think you got in a little bit late for this one, Jamie. So we're gonna, how far along were you on this motion?
No, I missed it, so I
Okay.
agreed.
Yep, not a problem. Just making sure. Okay, so a motion to amend the word site and insert city passes on a roll call vote of 8 in favor, 1 absent. Councilor Gilman, back to the main motion. Any narrative?
I think that we did an excellent job in P&D reviewing this, and the issue for these small changes was just to be very specific in terms of timing. And there was also one wording change where Senator Tarr felt that the words in section 4, which was, let me just see. They asked that we, instead of saying section 2 is no longer, once the land in section 2 is no longer being, we used being utilized instead of needed, because we felt being utilized was more specific and less subjective. So those were just minor changes just to be more definitive with the details of the timing. So very minor.
Thank you, Counselor. Is there any councilor discussion? Any questions from the council? Counselor Gilman? Counselor Memhard? Go ahead, Scott.
I'd just like to thank Senator Tar and Representative Ann Margaret for their assistance seeing this through and fine tuning it so that it is clear and specific to our needs here in Gloucester.
Thank you, Scott. All right, anybody else? Seeing none, I will call for the roll call vote. Counselor Pat?
Yes, and also thanking the administration and our state delegation for their support.
Thank you, Barry. Counselor Cox?
Yes.
Counselor Gilman?
Yes.
Counselor Holmgren?
Yes.
Counselor LeBlanc? Yes. Counselor McCarthy?
Yes.
Counselor Memhard?
Yes.
And Counselor Nolan?
Yes.
All right, and then Jamie missed this one also. Counselor O'Hara missed this one. So this is all the same. Motion passes on a roll call vote of 8 in favor, 1 absent, or 1 here but not able to vote because he wasn't here long enough for the discussion. Okay,
Counselor,
yes, Counselor Gilman.
I'd like to make a motion to reconsider.
I'll second.
Motion to reconsider has been made by Counselor Gilman, seconded by Counselor Holmgren. All right, does everybody understand motion to reconsider? All right, Counselor Pat,
No,
Counselor Cox,
No.
Counselor Gilman,
No.
Counselor Holmgren,
No.
Counselor LeBlanc, no. Counselor McCarthy,
No.
Counselor Memhard,
No.
and Counselor Nolan.
No.
And Counselor O'Hara is here but unable to vote on this. Motion to reconsider fails on a roll call vote of 0 in favor, 8 opposed. All righty, Madam Clerk, can we have the next order of business, please?
Next order of business is the first scheduled public hearing 2020-033, to amend the Gloucester Code of Ordinances, Section 5.32, temporary zoning relief to businesses during COVID-19 pandemic.
All righty, so I am going to open the public hearing and ask if there is anybody that would like to speak in favor. Joe Cahill, our planning director. Go right ahead.
Community Development Director.
I'm
But
sorry.
thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Through you to the counselors. I'm just here to give you guys an update on how it went this summer. As you know, you guys passed this in the spring so that we could help get our businesses out outside and our restaurants, including Main Street, but also other restaurants. I think many of you went to Yellow on the Water and some of the other restaurants, not just on Main Street, that were able, 525, that were able to get outside, as well as some of our retail operations. It went very well. We did not receive complaints for the most part, so that's great news. So this is just extending that through next year so that we can be prepared and have a more thoughtful approach in the spring. And if anybody has any questions, I'm here. Greg is here as well to answer any questions.
Okay, we'll get to the counselor question part shortly. Is there anybody else that would like to speak in favor? All right, seeing none, is there anybody that would like to speak in opposition? So I'm going to remind everybody, if you are calling in on a telephone, you can press *9 to be recognized to speak. If you are on a computer or a device, there is a raised hand button to be recognized to speak. Anybody in opposition? All right, seeing none. Madam Clerk, are there any communications?
There are none.
Are there any counselor questions? All right, seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing and call for the committee report, please. Counselor Gilman.
Thank you, Counselor. On a motion by Counselor Gilman, seconded by Counselor Holmgren, the Planning and Development Committee voted by roll call 3 in favor, 0 opposed, in accordance with MGL Chapter 40A, Section 5, and GZO Section 1.11.2E, to recommend that the City Council amend the Gloucester zoning ordinance by amending Section 5.33, temporary zoning relief to businesses during COVID-19 pandemic as follows. Number 1, purpose and duration. Strike the words December 1st, 2020 and insert the words December 31st, 2021. 2, purpose and duration, amend the last 2 sentences by adding the words in streets or public spaces beyond November 30th of any calendar year, structures and uses on private property may remain, and striking the words after the and inserting the words until the, so that the sentences read, such structures and uses shall not remain in streets or public spaces beyond November 30th of any calendar year. Structures and uses on private property may remain on site or in use until the expiration of this section, unless otherwise permitted by law, and I so move.
Second.
All righty, motion's been made by Councilor Gilman, second by Councilor Holmgren. Councilor Gilman, do you have a narrative?
I just wanted to once again share with councilors that the community development director and planning director in the city of Gloucester was trying very hard to be proactive and sensitive to the needs of the businesses. And this certainly was a great effort and initiative, and we appreciate that. And one of the benefits of changing some of these dates is that we're now prepared in case the pandemic lasts through the spring. We're now prepared to make sure that the businesses are aware of what they will be able to do come the springtime, and that will help them with their business planning. So I think that it was really a great initiative, and I appreciate the work by community development, the mayor's office, Vanessa Krozik, and Greg Catamatori, and of course, Jill Cahill. So thank you.
Thank you, Val. Is there any other council discussion? Council Holmgren?
I would like to echo Councilor Gilman's thanks. This is a very smart move. It's a creative move, and I really appreciate the community development department's willingness to work with our businesses to make sure that we can help them through this next phase of the pandemic into next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Councilor Cox?
I also want to echo the same sentiments. I think this is the best proactive move I've seen on behalf of the businesses all year. I think this is great. It sets us up nicely for next year. And I just really want to thank the administration and the staff for bending over backwards and spending a lot of time and effort on everything that's pandemic related. So this is brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Council McCarthy?
Yeah, just on the same idea, it's great foresight to have this in place ahead of time and be ready for what we may be facing next year. We don't know, but having this in place and some of the creativity that I've seen with the businesses has been great to see. Hopefully it helps them survive through this. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Councilor Pat?
Yes, again, I want to thank the entire administration and especially Jill and her staff for working with all the businesses throughout the city to be able to get through the pandemic in the best way that can help the businesses survive, and the foresight to work this into next year will make it a lot more pleasant for some of those businesses to know that they'll be able to continue that sort of thing next year if the issues do continue. And I want to thank the entire administration and for doing this. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry. Councilor Nolan?
Yeah, I think this is a great initiative. I mean, we're trying to look forward to an outcome of something that is real. I know that most clergy in the community understands that things are different, and Zoom may be new to them, but it's a way of a future in keeping people safe. And this is how we do it, by doing these things to bring in new initiatives. So if someone has a complaint, they can call me.
Thank you, Sean. Is there anybody else? All right, seeing none. I want to echo what everybody else said. Great job, everyone. So let's plan for the worst and pray for the best. That's what we're hoping for. If there's nothing else, we will call for the roll call. Councilor Pett,
Yes.
Councilor Cox,
Yes.
Councilor Gilman,
Yes.
Councilor Holmgren,
Yes.
Councilor LeBlanc, yes, Councilor McCarthy,
Yes.
Councilor Memard,
Yes, thank you.
Councilor Nolan,
Yes.
and Councilor O'Hara.
Yes.
All right, motion passes on a roll call vote of 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Great job, everybody. Appreciate all your work. And like I said, let's pray for the best, everybody. All right, and without any, TJ's sitting there. He's last on our agenda, so without any objection, do you guys mind if we pull TJ up? Because I think this one will kind of get through a little bit quicker. Is that okay with everyone? Everybody shaking their head yes, thank you. All righty, Madam Clerk, can we take up the Harbor Masters public hearing, please?
Sure. It's public hearing 2020-035, amend Gloucester Code of Ordinances, Chapter 10, Waterways Administration, Article 5, Other Waterway Regulations, Section 10-87, Harbor Master Patrol Details.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I will open the public hearing and ask if there's anybody that would like to speak in favor. TJ?
Yeah, so this ordinance has been amended a couple times now in the last 2 or 3 years. When I first got here, there wasn't a mechanism for the harbor master to conduct details. And over the, that needed to be rectified pretty quickly. Last year, we cleaned up the language and it was brought back before you. I believe it was about a year ago. And then this year, we have, I'm sure most of you are aware of the long-going MBTA train bridge project. There is a need for more details than we can handle, and the police department is working on with us. Some collective bargaining agreement stuff came up due to the volume of the details that are being requested. Myself, Councilor Nolan, the city administration, and the police chief worked out some new language that works for everybody. So we're pretty much conducting on the water details with one harbor master and one police officer if 2 people are necessary. So that's pretty much it. It's nothing really changes besides some collective bargaining agreement language that is pretty standard per their contract with the city. So
thank you, TJ. Is there anybody else that would like to speak in favor? Seeing none, is there anybody that would like to speak in opposition? Once again, if you are calling in on a telephone, you can press *9 to be recognized to speak. If you are watching or listening on a device or a computer, there is a raise hand button. So please use these functions to be recognized to speak, please. I'll keep repeating that during every public hearing so everybody understands. Anybody like to speak in opposition? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, are there any communications?
There are none.
Thank you. Is there any councilor questions? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing and call for the committee report. Councilor Nolan is a little hoarse this evening, so I will take over his reading duties. Ordinance in administration voted on a roll call vote, 3 in favor, 0 opposed, to recommend that the City Council amend Gloucester Code of Ordinances, Chapter 10, Waterways Administration, Article 5, Other Waterways Regulations, Section 10-87, Harbor Master Patrol Details as follows. Subsection A, the Harbor Master shall have the authority to conduct and manage all details on the water in coordination with the Chief of Police. Section B, Said water details shall be required for all marine events such as, but not limited to, bridge construction, movie or commercial work, construction of waterfront property, and marine permanent events requiring a safety/security boat. Section C, the harbor master shall select the harbor master personnel to serve on each said water detail, and each said detail, to the extent possible, shall be filled by a member of the police department consistent with the terms of the appropriate collective bargaining agreement. Charge a fee of $105 per hour for the use of a vessel and 2 assistant harbor masters during the daytime hours of 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. and a fee of $145 for nighttime hours from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. In the event that the supervisors are required, the harbor master shall charge a fee of $125 an hour during daylight hours and $175 an hour for nighttime hours. Section D, the hourly rate for said water details shall be established by the harbor master and consulting with the mayor's office. For the harbor master's staff shall be established by the terms of the appropriate collective bargaining agreement. For the members of the police department, further said rates shall be furnished upon request, and I so move.
Second.
Sorry, Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I apologize. The language in the new section C should have ended after collective bargaining agreement.
Okay.
Charge a fee of $105 per hour for the use of the vessel, and the rest of that should have been stricken.
Okay. So why don't we, we'll proceed what we're doing and then I'll amend it. How's that?
Okay.
Okay. So the motion's been made, seconded by Council O'Hara. All right. So I will make a motion to amend and strike everything after the collective bargaining agreement in section C, and I so move.
Second.
All right. Motion's been made, and I'm gonna give it to Council O'Hara again because he's the only voice that stood out from everybody. So basically, we're just fixing an error. So on the amendment, Councilor Pat, I would call for the roll call. Councilor Pat,
Yes.
Councilor Cox,
Yes.
Councilor Gilman,
Yes.
Council Holmgren,
Yes.
Councilor LeBlanc, yes. Councilor McCarthy,
Yes.
Councilor Memhard,
Yes.
Councilor Nolan,
Yes.
and Councilor O'Hara.
Yes.
All right, now back to the main motion. Councilor Nolan, do you have any narrative or discussion from this?
It was a great idea from conception. There was no delivery process for the harbor master to charge for services. That's what we had worked on. There is a great deal more movement on the water for feed-based supervision. As things turned out when we put this through, there was some collective bargaining issues that got in the way of contracts. So we wanted to clear up the language. There is cooperation between the chief of police and TJ, the harbor master. The human resources has been involved in the administration, and the language that we're putting forward just solidifies everything to make it legal. And we appreciate all the help from everybody.
Yes.
Thank you, Sean. Any councilor discussion on this? All right. Thank you, TJ. I think this is great. I appreciate you taking the time, going through some of these old ordinances and creating some that help out not only your department, but the city, and streamlining things. So kudos to you and your department. Good
Thank
job.
you very much, Mr. President. Thank you, councilors, for taking me out of order tonight. I know you have a big agenda, so I appreciate that. You everyone have a great holiday if I don't see you guys.
Let us take a vote first. We haven't voted yet.
Sorry.
All right, so if there's no further discussion, I'm going to call for the roll call. Councilor Pat.
Yes, and thank you to the Harbor Master's office for all their support welcoming visitors to the city, and for all their support of safety for all of us out on the water, and have a good holiday season and a safe one.
Thank you, Barry. Councilor Cox.
Yes.
Councilor Gilman.
Yes.
Council Holmgren.
Yes, and thank you.
Council LeBlanc, yes, and it's nice to see the harbor masters and the police department working hand in hand. That's great. So yes for me. Council McCarthy,
Yes.
Council Memhard,
Yes, excellent move.
Councilor Nolan,
Yes, thank you for all involved.
and Councilor O'Hara.
Yes.
Motion passes on a roll call vote of 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you, TJ.
All right.
And,
Well, now
you know-
happy holidays, everybody. I don't see you. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Guys, have a
bud.
great evening.
You too, pal.
Thanks.
All right, Madam Clerk, back to business, please. Next order of business.
Is public hearing 2020-034, the loan order 2020-008, loan authorization request in the amount of $66,700,000 to support the design, site work, construction, and outfitting of the new East Gloucester / Veterans Memorial Elementary School.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I will open the public hearing and ask if there is anybody that would like to speak in favor.
I'd like to start, Steve.
Yep, Chairman
Thank
Paul.
you, Council President and Councilors. I'm here to urge you to support this loan order. As you all know, on November 2nd, the community voted to pick up, to pay for their share of this loan, and MSBA has agreed to pay $26.9 million of it. And this is the next step that we need to do to move along in this process, a process that has started in 2014 and had many public hearings on what we should do about our next elementary school project, as well as the resulting in the statement of interest to MSBA and the approval of and the acceptance into eligibility and the formation of a building committee and the formation of the hiring of an OPM, as well as the design team, and then eventually the contract manager at risk. So this is a long process, but this is a very important point. Once this is in place, we'll be able to reach an agreement with MSBA, a contractual agreement where they'll agree to reimburse the $26.9 million. And we'll be able to start developing the plans and starting the work on the school. And hopefully on the 400th anniversary of Gloucester, we'll be opening a new school. And so this is, I hope you can support this. And I think perhaps John Dunn or Ben wants to talk.
Thank you, Jonathan. If anybody's like to speak in favor, Mr. Lummis.
Thank you, Council President and council members for allowing me to speak in favor of this loan order. I would first like to thank the City of Gloucester and its voters for supporting the debt exclusion override on November 3rd, and which will allow us to go forward with this important school building project. Mr. Pope shared that it's been in process for a number of years in partnership with MSBA, and helped led by the MSBA. It's gotten support from this council and also the school committee, and now also the voters as well. This obviously is a very important project as we continue to modernize our schools, our elementary schools, and make sure that they'll be able to support our students and families for 50+ years going forward. And also be places where the teachers and staff work very effectively, and we can continue to staff those with fantastic teachers. So I urge the City Council to take this next step in a process that is going forward, and so we can finish the design process and break ground next fall in preparation for a new school building to be ready for the City of Gloucester in 2023. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ben. Kathy Clancy.
Thank you, Council President. I also am here to speak in favor for this loan order. We are most grateful for all the work that the Department of Public Works has done over many, many years that are keeping our buildings going, even though a lot of it is very challenging with heating systems where they have to search high and low and have things fabricated to keep going. So we're very grateful that we're at this point, that the city recognized the need for this new school, and thankfully we'll be getting, it will take care of 2 school communities and 1 new state-of-the-art school for our students and families for many, many decades to come. I also send regards from Melissa Texera and her support. She has a meeting conflict this evening, but wanted to know, wanted to pass along her support for this as well. And we're very appreciative that you're now discussing this, and I encourage you to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Is there anybody else that would like to speak in favor? Mr. Dunn.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Council President and the rest of the council. So the loan order before you has been crafted by our bond counsel in Boston and passed by MSBA Legal. This matches up to what we need to do to move forward with MSBA. The amount matches up to what is the 3011 MSBA budget that has been approved. So if this is approved tonight, then we will move forward with MSBA and we will be moving forward on a new school, which is just a lovely thing.
Thank you, John. Is there anybody else that would like to speak in favor? All right, seeing none. Once again, I will restate that if you are calling in on a phone, you can press *9 to be recognized to speak. If you are listening or watching on a computer or a device, there is a raise hand button. Is there anybody that would like to speak in opposition? All right. Patty, can we have your name and address for the record, please?
Patty Amaral, 14 Myrtle Square.
Go ahead.
How can you appropriate almost $70 million to this project when Chip Payson claimed the EEA approved the project? And then in the EEA's response to my public records request, the EEA submitted in the request, it didn't approve anything. How can a project of this magnitude be approved with no documentation of this approval? The taxpayers need to know. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patty. Olympia, name and address for the record, please. Louise, you there? All right.
Yep, hi.
There you go. How
You
you
hear me
doing?
now?
Yep, name and address for the record, please.
57 Western Avenue, Gloucester, Mass. And I'm standing here with my husband as well, who'd like to speak as well. So I'm gonna let him say something first before I talk. Is that okay?
Yep, just so you guys know, we'll try to keep it around 3 minutes. So I will start the timer and I'll give you a heads up when we get close to it. Go ahead.
Mr. President, point of order, can we just have her name again and her husband's name too?
Yep, name and address for the record. Thank you, John. Name and address for the record, please.
Joseph Palazzola and Olympia Palazzola, 57 Western Avenue, Gloucester, Mass.
Thank you. Go right ahead.
Let me just say that this school is like putting a size 12 foot into a size 6 shoe. You know, and it's utterly ridiculous, the size of that school, and it's an architect's dream, which means it's not a good school. Okay, you should have put this somewhere where they had the acreage, not down in the middle of town. East Gloucester didn't want it, and they wanted it somewhere else. So I'm against this totally, and it's going to change the area very badly with traffic and everything else.
Thank you, Mr. Palazzola.
I want to mention something about the fact that the city just reassessed all our properties, and I called and found out that as it is, my property assessment's gone up $20,000. So the 20,000. Anyway, tax classification is going to be voted on also. And I hope you take into consideration the fact that our assessments are going up. We've done an override so you can make the money for the school. And also, we have a lot of elderly people that are struggling to pay their taxes as it is, and there's no way for them to get deductions. We don't have the way that we can get deductions. Some people can get deductions, but most can't. So hopefully when they take into consideration the tax classification, maybe they'll bring that down somewhat so that we can afford to keep our houses. That's the only other thing we have left right now, is the last thing on the agenda being the fact that there's a tax classification coming up. So my taxes are going up anyway. Then all of a sudden, another year, they're going to go through and they're going to take more of our tax money for the school for the next, how many years? 20 to 25 years. I mean, I'll be dead by then. So, but I still probably could have another 10 or 15 years left in my life. So I want to stay in my home. I want people to know that I love where I live. I love Gloucester. And I just don't agree with what's going on here. I know the public voted for it and they're stuffing it down our throats. My relatives live across the street and next to it.
Where I grew up.
And this is just an amazing thing that is going through. And I hope you people understand what you voted for when you see this great big arc sitting on that field next to these properties and a tight road that doesn't fit the buses as it is. So in the meantime, just that's my comments. And like I said, I don't think tax classification can do that much for me. But that's, I guess, my only hope, because otherwise we are going to be out of whack trying to pay the taxes on our properties.
Plus the water
And the water and sewer, we don't know what's going to happen with that. So they kind of forgot about the fact that we might be building new water treatment plants and sewer treatment plants. And I hope they don't ask for an override on that. So that's my comments.
Thank you, Louise. All righty. Next, we have Ann. Ann Rhinelander, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Name and address for the record, please.
Ann Rhinelander, 16 Pine Street, Gloucester.
Thank you. Go right ahead.
I'm impressed with the skill with which a yes vote was obtained. I continue to feel that there's an army of people who take issue with this and didn't really understand.
Ann, you there? We lost you for a minute. Ann, can you hear me? Hello, Ann. I think we lost her. Okay, I will circle back to Ann. I'll give her her full 3 minutes if she gets back for some reason. Mary Ann? Oh, hold on one second. Ann, can you hear me?
Yes, let me move. I may be in a bad spot here.
All right. Mary Ann, hold on
Sorry,
one second. That's okay.
yeah.
Go ahead. We lost you right at the beginning. So if
I'm
you want to
sorry,
start,
good.
you want to start over again, I'll start you with your full 3 minutes.
I appreciate that.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to again address the fact that I think the yes vote was obtained with a great deal of skill and with some public relations. And I've been involved with the library process, which includes the same design and architect team and the same kind of state oversight and mandates, both of which require a building committee for the schools, a building committee for the library. And I understand also that the same designers have first dibs on all municipal construction. So the need for 66 million to provide heating and air conditioning and Wi-Fi for the school seems pretty extraordinary. And I see these patterns, this kind of financing, as subsidizing demolition and construction companies, as well as designers and architects, more than meeting the needs of our kids. Our kids do need neighborhood schools. Those schools, the best building is one that exists. You can improve that, and it doesn't require this phenomenal amount of funding. And I appreciate the time and effort people have put into this, because it's taken years and you've dotted I's and crossed T's forever. This is not right. And again, if you want to go ahead and authorize this, you should do it with your eyes wide open to what you're really paying for. As I see it, that is the planning process, the endless bills that come with that, and the demolition of buildings. There's a real need to take down Fuller School, take down the 2 schools already. And there, if you go ahead with this whole plan, you are really setting us up for demolition of 4 grammar schools and all the advantages of neighborhood education for the children and families. Those buildings can be used for a number of things. So I think the proportion of funding to what we're really going to get out of this is way, way out of line. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ann. All right, moving right along. Mary Ann, can you hear me? Name and address for the record, please.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, Mary Ann Albert Boucher, 93 Mount Pleasant Avenue. Your intentions this evening are to approve a $66.7+ million loan order for the construction of a new elementary school. I'm curious as to how this can be appropriated at this time when pieces of the puzzle are not firmly in place. The people voted under the assumption of one thing, yet here we are voting to approve this appropriation while making 2 amendments to a bill 2628 that was put into law, signed into law by our governor. You all wrote the law and you all approved the law. Will there be a public hearing regarding this new bill for the general public, not amended law? You intend to move forward this evening with this and to amend something that is already law. I've heard the words like, this is just the just timing and logistics when inquiring about this. But it is the law, isn't it? Can somebody please explain how you have taken something that you put into law, Bill 2628, and now you want to amend it to something different to meet your needs now after the vote? I have a really hard time with that. I love children. I want to see best education, the best that can be for them. But what you're doing is wrong on every level, in my opinion. I've watched this for 4 years and 9 months. I've paid probably closer attention to this project than most people out there. And what I've seen and what the previous woman, who I do not even know, just said is true. It's all true. And it's time for somebody to stand up and say, enough. And I'm one of those people. I'm sorry, but it's wrong. And I'll stand up and I'll say, it's wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Ann. All right. Denise, can we have your name and address for the record, please?
Hi, Denise Pascucci, 20 Birch Grove Heights. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go right ahead.
Hi, and I totally agree with Mary Ann. I think the people of Gloucester need to know the truth, and transparency is not being followed here. I have asked many of you people about advertising to the general public that this project is 66.7 million. Of course, we know that's the money you're trying to borrow right now, which is the building amount. I wish you would total up the money that's coming out of our general fund. As far as right now, 4.2 million has been approved as far as swing space, the softball field, and the knockdown of East Gloucester School. I want to make sure that you are telling people the total amounts and not just bits and pieces. And for the superintendent to say all we have to do is give up a cup of coffee or even a beer at Pratty's, I think it's pretty sad that people think that everybody has that extra money to buy coffee in the morning. I think that the city should be telling people exactly how much is being spent, how much might be needed to be spent as far as that field goes. You're going to be doing borings, and that field is mush. I mean, the dirt that's in there is not any good. And I know that's not into the project price, but I do ask everybody, the mayor, the superintendent, the school committee, and the city council to tell people what exactly is being spent. And then it's important for people to know that. And I asked some of you to mention that prior to the vote. And again, not telling people the exact information, I think swayed a lot of people to vote yes. We had 8,000 people that voted no. That is a lot of people against this project. I really think that you should reconsider and think about the monies being spent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Denise. Is there anybody else that would like to speak in opposition? Once again, if you are calling on a telephone, you can press *9. If you are listening and watching on a device or a computer, there's a raise hand button that you can tap to be recognized to speak. Anybody in opposition? All right. Madam Clerk, are there any communications?
There are none.
Are there any councilor questions? All right, seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing and call for the committee report. Councilor Cox.
Good evening. Steve, if I say my throat is scratchy, will you read my motions too?
No.
All right, fine. All right, the motion is quite lengthy, so bear with me. And I'm reading off my computer screen. So I will not be looking at the camera, but looking at my computer screen. I'm trying to be better with paper here. All right. The city ordered that the city appropriates the amount of $66,700,000 for the purpose of paying costs of the design, site work, construction, and outfitting of a new East Gloucester Veterans Memorial Elementary School to be located at 11 Webster Street, Gloucester, Mass., including the payment of all costs incidental or related thereto, which school facility shall have an anticipated useful life as an educational facility for the instruction of school children for at least 50 years, and for which the city may be eligible for a grant from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, further known as MSBA, said amount to be expended under the direction of the school building committee. To meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the mayor, is authorized to borrow said amount under Mass General Law, Chapter 44, or pursuant to any other enabling authority. The city acknowledges that the MSBA's grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need as determined by the MSBA, and that any project costs the city incurs in excess of any grant approved by and received from the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the city, provided further that any grant the city may receive from the MSBA for the project shall not exceed the lesser of 64 and 65/100% of eligible approved project costs as determined by the MSBA, or the total maximum grant amount determined by the MSBA. and that the amount of borrowing authorized pursuant to this vote shall be reduced by any grant amount set forth in the project funding agreement that may be executed between the city and the MSBA. Any premium received from the sale of any bonds or notes is approved by this vote, less any such premium applied to the payment of the cost of issuance of such bonds or notes may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with General Law, Chapter 44, Section 20, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by like amount, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilor Cox, seconded by Councilor Memhard. Is there any other discussion? Councilor Cox.
I would like to say that I am definitely going to be supporting this. I believe that by putting it to a citywide vote, the residents have spoken. I believe it's up to every resident to educate themselves as to the pros and cons of every vote they make in that ballot box, and that's between them. And I think that the city supported this, and therefore I am happy to cast my vote as a yes and support this as well.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Gilman, you had your hand up?
Thank you, Counselor. So I just have two things to say. First, in listening to the folks that spoke in opposition, I just want to mention that the information about the cost of the school, including the $4.2 million, is on the Gloucester School's website on this matter. And when this had come up on social media as a question, I went on and was directed to the right section, and it was absolutely there with all the information. It was done by John Dunn in the building committee, and it was very, very specific. So I appreciate the school building committee and the school committee for maintaining that. And I just wanted to alert the public that that information has been out there loud and clear. And I also, in response to the person, I forget who it was, but in terms of the recent changes, the two very small changes that we made to the home rule petition, not the legislation, but the home rule petition, which is specific to just a few little details. It was done to help with the timing and to be more specific. And I just wanted to mention that because, Green Street site won't be ready for use next year, as the city will still need to put down the turf and let it grow strong enough to take people, to allow people to play on it. So this proposed change will allow for the creation of the Green Street softball field as soon as it is reasonably practicable after the transfer of Mados to the school committee. The city is going to work with the softball leagues to make certain that they have a place to play in 2021 until Green Street is ready in 2022. And then the second issue was the East Gloucester Elementary School is still being used as a school. So this amendment would allow for its transfer to the city to be turned into a park and open space, since it is no longer being utilized as a school. And then finally, the city cannot file a deed restriction on property that has a school sitting on it. So the third and last proposed change says that the deed restriction on the East Gloucester Elementary School site will be recorded as soon as it is reasonably practicable. In other words, once the East Gloucester Elementary School is not utilized as a school and is transferred to the city, it's knocked down and a park and open space have been created. So my point in just going over this is that the language that we made is absolutely minor. I requested the changes be illustrated on the Zoom screen at P&D so people could see how minor they were. It was about 4 words, 4 little sections, and the information was just timing. And I just wanted to say that because, I think we work really hard to be transparent, and I appreciate that. The schools, the school building committee, the city council, And I'm proud of the work that we've done in support of this, so I will be supporting this motion. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Gilman. Councilor Nolan.
Yeah, we're always looked at the future of things and we're being blamed for the past. Things that happened before in recent years have nothing to do with what we are looking to do in the forward. In my business, you have people that are looking to make chicken salad out of turkey, and you're never going to make chicken salad out of turkey as much as we all enjoy a Thanksgiving dinner. We have too many schools that if we put equally $18 million in, we're not taking care of the adequate space. We may do some heating and some remodeling and some ventilation, but we're not taking care of the adequate space for learning abilities. This to me is an easy vote, and I understand the public and they voted for it, and I feel for the people that voted against it. All the information has been very transparent, and we added some things to try to make it better for the softball situation. This is an easy vote, and I will be supporting this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Councilor Pat.
Thank you, Mr. President. Echoing the words of the other councilors, I do believe that the process has been very transparent. In some cases, people have not liked to either find the information they're looking for because the information isn't the answers they're looking for. The necessity for a new school is absolutely there. I will be supporting it. I thank all the people within the school not only administration, the elected officials, school committee, and also since mentioning that Melissa Texer Prince is at the not here with us this evening. She's at the licensing board hearing, and also passing on condolences to Laura Weeson. She lost her father-in-law. But I will be supporting this, and I'm very happy that we'll be moving forward for the future for our kids for generations to come.
Thank you, Barry. Councilor Memhard, and then Councilor McCarthy.
I again would just like to echo the comments that my fellow councilors have made. This has been a very complicated and long coming process. And we have great thanks to our school building committee and the administration, and everybody else who's fostered it along. We've gone through a long, complicated process, as I say. It's not exactly perfect. There's some people that don't like consolidated schools versus neighborhood elementary schools, and with good reason. But this, I think, is clearly the best solution for our city at this time and the best place to develop our new consolidated elementary school. We did have 8,620 voters support this vote, and I think we're only reflecting their priorities when we agree to go ahead and build the best new school for our community and our kids. So thank you all.
Thank you, Scott. Well said. Councilor McCarthy.
Yes, I just think it's important to look what's before us tonight. What's before us tonight is a loan order to borrow the money. What's preceded this is a democratic process where the citizens of Gloucester went to the polls and voted for a debt exclusion to fund this. Tonight, we're merely putting forward the loan order to fund this project as dictated by the election on the debt exclusion. Our CAFO has brought before us a favorable rate, and I'm going to support that because that's what was put forward in the election by our voters. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Councilor O'Hara.
Thank you. This is a very difficult decision on my part. I've studied this and obviously listened to all sides. I think there's a number of reasons to go forward, number of reasons not to go forward with this project. And I unfortunately am going to vote against this. I represent the minority. The timing, I don't think the location, multiple reasons, but I will not be voting in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Councilor Holmgren.
I will be supporting this measure tonight. I think what Councillor McCarthy reminded us of just now is very important. And after the democratic process, after the vote on November 3rd, the majority of people in the city voted in favor of this school. I am happy to support it. There is a lot to be said for a brand new school, attracting young families, establishing roots here, and strengthening our economic future for years to come. So thank you very much. I know this has been an emotional and difficult process for a lot of people. I do appreciate the school committee and school administration's dedication, as well as the school building committee to help us get to this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. And is there anybody else? Am I the last one? I think I'm the last one. All right. So I just want to echo what my fellow councilors have spoke about earlier. Councilor McCarthy, Councilor Memhard, Councilor Pat, Councilor Nolan, everybody, Councilor Gilman. A lot of good verbiage of some, you know, placing the blame on the past is not a good idea. We have to focus on the future. And I think we do need a new school. Some people say it's the best spot. Some people say it's the worst spot. We have to make do with what we have in front of us this evening. And it's to approve this loan order and move forward with the majority of the city voters have asked for. So I will too be supporting this evening. And if there is nothing further, I will call for the roll call. All right, Councilor Pat,
Yes.
Councilor Cox,
Yes.
Councilor Gilman,
Yes.
Councilor Holmgren,
Yes.
Councilor LeBlanc, yes, Councilor McCarthy,
Yes.
Councilor Memhard,
For our city and our kids, yes.
Councilor Nolan,
Absolutely.
and Councilor O'Hara.
No.
Motion passes on a roll call vote of 8 in favor, 1 opposed. Councilor
Motion to
Counselor?
reconsider?
Excuse me, Barry.
I'm sorry.
Councilor Pat has made a motion to reconsider and it's been
Second.
seconded by Councilor Holmgren. All right, so does everybody understand the motion to reconsider? All right, Councilor Pat,
No.
Councilor Cox,
No.
Councilor Gilman,
No.
Councilor Holmgren,
No.
Councilor LeBlanc, no. Councilor McCarthy,
No.
Councilor Memhard,
No.
Councilor Nolan,
No.
and Councilor O'Hara.
Yes.
Motion to reconsider fails on a roll call vote of 1 in favor, 8 opposed. All righty, moving right along. Madam Clerk, can we have the next order of business, please?
Next order of business is public hearing 2020-032, tax classification in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 5, and Gloucester Code of Ordinance, Chapter 2, Section 2-26, to determine the percentage of the local tax levy for the fiscal year 2021 to be borne by each class of real and personal property.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I will open the public hearing and ask if there is anybody that would like to speak in favor. Okay, who would like to start off? Hold on. Let me see if I can, anybody from the administration like to speak in favor?
Counselor, I think Nancy's
Okay.
ready to do a little presentation.
All right, Nancy, go right ahead.
Good evening, and thank you, Council President. I normally do give a little presentation prior to, so it's not necessarily speaking in favor or opposed, but providing some information for the councilors and attendees.
Thank
I
you.
am going to attempt to share my screen so that everyone can see where I am in the packet. We'll see how that goes. If there's any issues, please just let me know, and hopefully I can make some adjustments.
Okay. Joanne, is she able to share her screen? All right. There we go, Nancy.
Okay.
We can see it. Great.
Excellent. The fiscal 21 assessed values and new growth were approved by the Department of Revenue on November 30th. This allows us to move forward with the tax classification process. There are 4 options to consider, none of which change the total tax levy. As there are no parcels classified as open space to apply a discount to, and the mayor has not chosen to adopt either the residential exemption or the small commercial exemption, the focus is on adopting a residential factor. This factor determines the share of the tax levy that each class of property will bear. Page 4, I'm showing on the screen now, shows the total value and percentage of each class. The residential class this year makes up 90.31%, and the commercial, industrial, and personal property, 9.69%. The taxable value of the city increased 2.56% from fiscal 20. And based on the sales analysis, the residential class as a whole increased 1.5%. Single family class within the residential class saw an increase of approximately 1%. There was a minimal adjustment to the condominium class upward. The 2 and 3 family class increased a little over 4%, and the apartment class increased 6.5%. The commercial class saw an increase of just under 0.5%, and the industrial class had an overall slight decrease in value. The next page. Oops. Hold on one second, sorry about that. Is page 5. This shows the parcel counts and assessed values of each class from 2008 to the present. I do want to draw your attention to the bottom of the page so that we compare fiscal 20 to fiscal 21. You will see in the right-hand column that it's showing a decrease in the overall percentage of the residential class and a slight increase in the commercial class. And I want to point out that this is basically due to a change that occurred with the personal property. The Department of Revenue required that a different valuation methodology was utilized this year for the utility personal property accounts. This is Mass Electric and Boston Gas. And the reason they did this was based on some decisions that were rendered from the Appellate Tax Board in a number of cases. So if you look at the personal property value for fiscal 20, you'll see there was a significant increase from fiscal 20 to 21. If this change did not occur this year, what you would be seeing here is a continuation of the trend when there is increasing value. So if we went back to fiscal 14, you would see the percentage of the residential class increasing and the commercial, industrial, and personal property decreasing. So this really change that occurred this year has to do with this change in the valuation of these utilities. I also want to point out that there could be some fluctuation with this in the future, possibly even next year, depending on what transpires in terms of if there are any challenges by the taxpayers in terms of challenging the new valuation methodology at either the local level or at the Appellate Tax Board level. It is a little complicated, but if anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to give you more information.
All right, Nancy, we'll get to councilor questions very shortly.
Okay. Page 6 shows the historic shift factors adopted over the years. It's really the underlying factor that's associated with the shift that is what is being voted on. Last year, a shift factor of 1.03 was adopted. And that's shown down at the bottom of the page for fiscal 20.
All right, hold on a second, Nancy. I know we got your slides out now, so you know what? This might be a good time while you have your slides out, if there are any councilor questions. I know we'll get to councilor questions later on during the meeting also, but while Nancy has her slides up, are there any councilor questions while she can point things out? All right, seeing none. Go right ahead, Nancy.
Okay. Page 7 shows the calculation of the maximum allowable levy. It starts with the fiscal 2020 levy limit. There is then a slight decrease for amended growth from fiscal 20. Added to that is the Prop 2.5 increase and the new growth for fiscal 21, which results in the fiscal 2021 levy limit. And to that, the CSO debt exclusion and water debt exclusion are added, which results in the maximum allowable levy for fiscal 2021 of $90,182,882. That number divided by the total value of all parcels results in a tax rate at a factor of 1 of $12.48. This is rounded so as not to exceed the maximum allowable levy. The tax rate at a factor of 1 is up 11 cents from fiscal 20. A factor of 1 would result in the same tax rate for all classes of property, and any factor other than 1 shifts a portion of the tax levy from one class of property to another. Page 8 shows the approximate tax rates that result from the various shifts to the CIP class. The maximum shift allowed by the state this year is 1.5, which is shown at the bottom of the page. Page 9 shows a comparison of levies by class at various shift factors. The tax rates are approximate and rounded so as not to exceed the maximum allowable levy. These may differ slightly once the recap is completed. And the far right-hand column shows the difference in the levy that each class will bring in after the shift. Oops, a little mistake there, hold on. I have to turn this one for you. Page 10 shows the change in tax dollars for properties valued at different levels at various shifts. You can see the savings to the residential parcels and the increase in tax dollars for the commercial, industrial, and personal property taxpayers. The median single family home this year is valued at $458,300, which is closest to this $500,000 property value. And at last year's adopted shift of a 1.03, you will see that the residential taxpayer saves $20, while the commercial, industrial, and personal property taxpayer pays an additional $190. And at the bottom of the page is the maximum shift of 1.5. That would result in a savings to the residential taxpayer of $330 and an increase for the commercial, industrial, and personal property taxpayer of $3,125. The remainder of the packet explains the open space discount in the residential and small commercial exemptions, which are not viable options this year. I have the other assessors with me today, Gary Johnstone and Tim Good. If you do have questions about the exemptions or anything else in the packet, we'll do our best to answer. And I can stop sharing my screen whenever you feel it's appropriate.
All right, let's see if we have any counselor questions while you have your slides up for us, Nancy. Is there any counselor questions while we have the slides up from the council? All right, seeing none. You can go right ahead and stop sharing your screen, Nancy, if you'd like to.
Thank you.
No problem, thank you. Is there anybody that would like to speak in favor? All right, John?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yes. So the mayor recommends that we go forward with the 1.03 shift, consistent with where we've been for the past couple of years. And that would be, just consistent.
Okay, thank you, John. Anybody else that would like to speak in favor? All right, seeing none. Is there anybody that would like to speak in opposition? Once again, if you are calling on a telephone, you can press *9 to speak. And if you are on a device or a computer, you can, there's a raise hand button to be allowed to speak or request to speak. All right, so I'm going to start off with Ken. Ken, can we have your name and address for the record, please? Ken, can you hear me?
Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
There you go. There you go. Name and address for the record, please.
Ken Reel, Cape Ann Chamber, 24 Harbor Loop.
Go ahead.
Thank you, President LeBlanc and councilors for this public forum on this very important city matter. As you well know, every year the Cape Ann Chamber, as the largest business organization on the North Shore, advocates for parity between the residential and the CIP tax rates. Taking into account the different evaluation adjustments to personal property tax that Nancy just explained, the CIP percentage of tax revenue continues its downward slide over the past 7 years. This has been an extraordinary year on all fronts. Every resident and business has been impacted in some way. Speaking for the business community, those businesses in the hospitality industry have been especially hard hit. Accommodations, restaurants, retailers, attractions, our cultural community, and personal services, all of these businesses are taking losses for the year. Some have closed and some will not reopen. I'll spare you the numbers and analysis this evening, and just conclude by saying that while we will always advocate for tax rate parity, we appreciate the Budget and Finance Committee's recommendation to leave the shift unchanged in recognition of the extreme hardships experienced by both our business community and our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Is there anybody who'd like to speak in opposition? Olympia.
Yes, I'm confused. I understand part of it.
Once again, name and address. We do this every time.
Oh,
So once again,
sorry,
name and
Olympia Palazzolo, 57 Western Avenue, Gloucester, Mass.
go ahead.
And listening to Nancy, staying at 1.03, how much will our taxes go up? And I understood somewhere where I heard you say something, it's a savings of 330 for the taxpayers. That was on one of your screens. I'm not sure what you meant by that. So if your property, if it stays 1.03, which is the same, will taxes go up? I know we have some new revenue that's come in, new houses, and the prices of houses that have sold and the assessments have gone up. So what does that do to us exactly? I've been doing this for so many years. I still don't get it.
That's okay. Do you have anything else, Olympia? Because one of us will ask that question for you when it comes time for us to,
Fine.
we'll ask councilors questions. So we'll make sure we cover that for you.
Okay.
Is there anything else you'd like to say?
I hope that's it. I hope you vote it lower so that we can save money on our taxes, especially since we're going to be paying a lot more in taxes.
All righty, I will ask that question for you. All right, is there anybody else that would like to speak in opposition? Once again, if you are calling on a telephone, you can press *9 to be recognized to speak. And if you are listening on a laptop or a device, there's a raise hand button to be recognized to speak. Once again, anybody in opposition? Seeing none, before we move along, Madam Mayor has her hand up. I will recognize the mayor to speak. Mayor Taken.
Well, thank you. John did speak, but I think Ken said it. Ken didn't appeal. He didn't really go against anything. He just said right now that, you know what, we're all been hit hard. Whether we say, well, you know, business can get grants, homeowners this, we have people like Councilor Cox said at BNF that, you know, landlords with no renters and no rent. And it's just one of those, and it's not getting better. And, you know, with the evictions and non-evictions and people waiting for their rents for at least 7-8 months, you know what, any increase, any part, whether it's business or non-business, we are all in this together. And like we always say, well, when are we going to do the ratio of 1:0? I left it the same. It's just everyone knows that it's going to go up 2.5%. That does every year. So if taxpayers are listening and thinking nothing's going to go up, that's not true. It always goes up 2.5%. Do we want the ratio? This is just how we want to switch the burden. I don't feel that anyone should get any more or less burden. I think that, you know what, we are in this together, and that's why I said, you know, leave it the same. It's just, there's a no win, no matter which way we turn. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. All right. Is there anybody else that would like to speak in opposition or in favor? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, are there any communications?
There are none.
Are there any councilor questions? Councilor Gilman and then Councilor Cox.
Thank you, Counselor. One of the components of this process of the formula that intrigues me is the formula where you talk about new businesses, both in commercial and industrial, as well as residential. And I think that that particularly intrigues me because what that does is it reminds members of the public that there's more to this formula than just the 2.5%, that there are extra components. So I was hoping through the chair that we could ask Nancy to just a little bit discuss that a little bit, because when people are you know, tired of seeing contractors building new houses and whatever else, there's a really good reason on that formula. So I was hoping through the chair that Nancy could just touch upon that, maybe even show that formula again, because that's impressive, and it's important to us to see this new development in the city because it brings more revenue to us.
Thank you. Nancy, can you provide that information for us?
Sure. I'm thinking, Councilor Gilman, that you're possibly talking about the slide where I discussed some of the new growth.
Exactly.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
So I'll share that again with you, hopefully. Let's see. Well, I have to spin it around. Hold on, please. How come I can't see myself, Tim? I was attempting to share that, but then I lost myself on the screen. So I'm not sure if
Maybe, do you mind just
clerk.
reading it? Could you just
Sure.
read the
City
category?
clerk, I'm not sure if she might have changed my permissions, but
Wayne, can we make sure Nancy can share her screen?
No, she can still share it.
Oh,
okay. I no longer could see myself,
Well, we
which
just-
makes it difficult to speak. So I'll try one more time. Let's see.
There you go.
All right,
We got it.
There we go. Sorry about that. Not very helpful. Okay. So Councilor Gilman was talking about new growth and things that change from year to year in terms of properties in the city. And basically what Prop 2.5 does is provides a limit for what the city can bring in from one year to the next by putting a limit on this. The levy limit is what it's called. And that's basically what keeps the city bringing in what they can from one year to the next. So each year we do see this Prop 2.5 increase, which is allowed, and it's calculated automatically by the Department of Revenue. And that's why even if values are staying the same, with Prop 2.5 increase included from one year to the next, taxpayers can typically expect to pay more in tax dollars because the city can bring in this Prop 2.5 increase in addition to what they brought in the prior year. The new growth is important because it does expand the tax base. So we are allowed to not only bring in the 2.5, but also this new growth. And we're measuring basically what took place in the prior year. So whatever there was for construction prior to our date of assessment, which was January 1st, 2020, we measure what increases in assessed value occur because of this construction in the city. And there's quite a bit. We've had a lot of consistent, very high new growth on the residential side. There's always properties that are either being demolished, rebuilt. We don't have a lot of vacant land, but if that's the case and people want to live near the water, you do see a lot of demos, and they're basically going to be rebuilding into something that's much larger than was there before. And we see that added increase as part of the new growth. We measure new growth in every class. So we're looking at all of the different types of residential properties, condominium developments when they're converted from multifamilies. Any type of new construction, whether it's 2 families, apartment buildings, those types of things. And the same for the commercial side. Whatever's taking place, like we had new growth for Happy Valley, for instance, GMGI. There are a lot of things in the pipeline that are coming up as well that are going to be helpful because we have what's going on over at the Fuller site. And now a lot of that is residential when those apartments start coming into play in terms of they're now in existence and can add to this levy limit. So anything that we capture that's approved by the Department of Revenue for these items increases this levy limit. So it's our start point before we add the debt exclusions for the maximum that the city can bring in. So it's important to try and expand the tax base and gain what we can here in order to increase the levy limit each and every fiscal year.
Thank you, Nancy. Is that sufficient, Council Gilman?
It was perfect. It's
All right.
exactly what I was hoping that Nancy would emphasize, because I think it's good for the community, the taxpayers, to see that and how it affects this whole matter. So thank you.
Thank you, Val. Councilor Cox?
Thank you. Nancy, while you have your slides up, if we could address Louise's question as well, I would appreciate that. I think to reiterate her question is that she's not quite sure how the whole process works in regards to the tax classification kept at 1. If you could briefly reiterate that, I would appreciate it.
I can, and I also might just put this other slide up on here so I can clarify a couple of numbers on here for her as well, if you'd like.
That would be great.
So tax classifications, really, each and every year, I look at it more as you're starting at a factor of 1. We know what that is because we've done the calculations, and our estimation is that that's going to be 12.48 for both classes of property this year. Then what you're looking at when you choose to move some of the burden from one class to another is this residential factor, or what commonly in this city has been a tax shift. We look at it more in what above 1.0 is the piece that we elect to possibly shift to the CIP class. So anytime you're doing this shift slightly to the CIP class, that benefits the residential taxpayer. So I was showing on here that when you have a very minor shift, you see only a small benefit to the residential taxpayer. And that's basically because our city is made up almost 90% residential versus the 10% CIP. The number that Mrs. Palazzola mentioned was down here. And this is basically if you were choosing to shift to the max, which the state calculates this for us each year. This would be if you were putting as much as you could possibly shift legally onto the CIP class, then the residential taxpayer would be seeing a larger savings for this valued property. But I think it's important to note, which I did touch on when I was answering Councilor Gilman's question, that taxes, in essence, if you have the 2.5% increase that you can raise, chances are you are going to be paying a little more each year. The shift is just one isolated thing to do with what your final tax number is going to be. And if in fact the council decides to vote a residential factor that equates to one of these shift numbers that is above 1, that's going to be a little savings to the residential, and the commercial, industrial, and personal property taxpayer will pay more. Does that answer your question, Councilor Cox, do you think?
I certainly hope it answers Louise's question.
Okay.
Basically, the tax rate at 1 is 12.48 $12.48 per $1,000 of house value.
That's correct.
If we were to keep it at a factor of 1.
Yes.
But we are recommending to shift it to 1.03, same as last year and the previous 3 years. So therefore, the residential factor is reduced
Let me go back one
to,
page here. I'll spin this around.
making me
Sorry
dizzy.
about that. I know, I'm sorry. There's no other way with what
It's
I have
okay.
set up here. So these are the rates that would result from the 1.03.
Yeah, so the factor of 1, the residential rate would be $12.47 per $1,000 in value of home. But with the shift that we are proposing tonight in favor of the residential, is a tax rate of $12.44 per $1,000 value of home. So that, I think that sums it up a little bit better for Louise, hopefully. But I do appreciate your presentation on that. Okay. I'm all set, Steve.
Thank you, Councilor Cox. Any other councilor has any questions for Nancy? Or
Steve,
yes,
Scott Memhart here.
oh, there you go, Scott. Sorry, go ahead, Scott.
Nancy, I was hoping that you could just help clarify in terms of shift between commercial industrial property in Gloucester, which is around, as you say, 9% currently, versus residential property, which is around 91% currently. It's obviously helpful and healthy if we have a local tax base, we have local jobs as part of the economy. We don't want to become just a bedroom community of just residential properties. It's not a healthy place with no jobs offered. But going back in recent time, have we ever been above 9% commercial industrial, or have we been stable at that general balance for a few years now?
Yeah, I'm just going to back up here in the packet. See if I can get to the right page. So it's 7, Tim. Okay, I'm sorry, my pages don't really equate here, so it takes me a little bit. So this page shows the share of each class in the right-hand column. And a lot of this has to do with what's going on in the market, as well as what we have for properties in terms of commercial, industrial, and personal property. The residential class in an increasing market, so if we're in 2014 here, it increases typically at a higher rate because it's a more emotional purchase, whereas commercial and industrial properties are purchased on investor expectations. So as the residential class increases, you see that the commercial class is also decreasing. We had the opposite happening when the residential class, when we were decreasing values back in 08. So you do have fluctuations in the commercial, and I believe you said, Councilor Memhart, somewhere around the 11% range. Is that what you were indicating?
Well, it seems like we've had a stable balance of like 9% commercial industrial versus 91% residential in general for the last few years.
It's been very consistent.
Yeah,
even if you go
in spite
back,
of changes.
Right. Even if you go back to the beginning of this particular page, I mean, I always think of it as a 90-10, and we haven't really seen anything wildly different from that over this time period.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Any other councilor questions? Councilor Pat?
Yes, while you have that screen up, Nancy, I appreciate all the work the assessors have done, and also our CFO and the Office of the CAO as well. I know we have sort of reached our limit on industrial development space in the community. And I see that, again, we are sitting at about that 9% level. And I'm just questioning, over the next couple of years, does it appear that this will seem, again, remain somewhat stable in this sense with the some of the new residential development, like up at Fuller and et cetera? Is that offset by the personal property increases? Or what's the basic thought process or guess on the assessor's end?
I think when we do.
If you can answer that.
I can answer it somewhat. I don't have a crystal ball, unfortunately, but on the residential end, there are a lot of things coming into the queue that we know of. What's going on at Fuller so far, the residential apartment component is the biggest piece. So you have a couple of small commercial buildings that are going to come on board there, but the YMCA is tax exempt, so it won't factor into these percentages. We also have a lot more kind of new construction condominiums and condo conversions that are coming up. Let's see, I have a little chart here if I can get to it. So I try to kind of track what's coming. The other thing that's mostly residential now is when you look at the back shore with Aquarius, there was the hotel there and the smaller lying motel buildings. That's all going to be residential going forward as well. So we have condominiums being developed now on the other corner of Witham and Thatcher. We have the Atlantic Road, which is Aquarius. We have the bulk of the Fuller being apartments. We have seen expansion at Gloucester Crossing, which is helpful with Home Goods, and that space beyond that was expanded. Starbucks, Aspen Dental, CVS has not come into the queue yet there. So that's something that we're going to be seeing next year. So we do see some things happening in the commercial sector. It's just difficult with the residential going at the pace it's going to make a significant impact in that 90-10 split.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Barry. Any other councilor questions? John, before we get council questions, go ahead.
Just a comment and kind of, in terms of what Nancy is saying, so some of the things that happen with CIP, the commercial, industrial, and personal, really is driven by the personal property, which is also mostly utilities. And what we see over time is that utility values have gone up, and that has really kind of shifted some of what is the CIP totality to personal property. So these are utility values that are mostly National Grid at our point, but that's we just need to be able to remember that this is what's going on. So these are national and statewide. Yeah, I'm sorry. I just kind of dropped that. So Nancy, do you have any?
That's okay. I wasn't sure if you froze or something.
Oh,
yeah, I did. Yeah.
Thanks, John. All right. Any other councilor questions? All right. Seeing none. Nancy, you can stop sharing your screen if you wish.
Thank you.
All right. So if there are no further councilor questions, we do. All right, Scott, you have your hand up. You all set, bud? Okay. All right. So we have Olympia and Ken have their hands up. I know we're at the council question part of this. How does the council feel circling back to the public at this point?
I would feel better knowing that their questions are satisfied.
I agree. I just want to get a consensus for everybody. Okay, great. I'll start off with Ken. Ken, once again, name and address for the record, please.
Ken Rio, Cape Ann Chamber, 24 Harbor Loop. Thank you for letting me speak one last brief time. I just wanted to address Councilor Mem.
Hold on one second. Sorry about that, Ken. Go ahead. Start over. You wanted to address Councilor Memhard. That's what we got. I'm sorry.
I'm in trouble, Ken, huh?
Your question was right on, and it's the basis for our argument fundamentally in, reducing the tax rate to parity. And if you look back historically for the city, and I've gone back to the 90s, the CIP was actually about 15%. And so where we are today is we're under 10, we're 9 and change. And the steep decline corresponds pretty directly with the decline of the fishing industry. And so the city was not that many years ago much more industrial and had a larger business base. And ultimately we would like to see that the CIP rate turn around and go the other way and grow again. And maybe we won't get back to 15%, but we sure want to start to move in that direction. So that's a great question.
Thank you, Ken. All right, and we'll circle back to Olympia. Olympia, once again, name and address for the record, please.
Olympia Palazola, 57 Western Avenue, Gloucester, Mass. 3 times I've spoken, and 3 times I think I spoke the opposite of what I should have spoken. I was on the impression that we were at 1.03 and going to 1.01 would have lowered our tax rate. Instead, it doesn't. I should have been asking the opposite. And that's where the confusion I had. So my request to you is, my wish is that you would go higher that to 1.05 and lower it. It's not much. I don't know whether it's 4 cents or whatever, especially with all these properties coming on, to help the taxpayers, especially with the school debt and the fact that our assessments have gone up. So I would ask the favor or question of you people to please think about the fact to make it go up higher to the 1.05 or even a little higher than that. The 1.03 staying the same doesn't help me at all because my taxes have already gone up. Actually, they went up twice because I have multifamily. So I was raised once already, and now I've raised again another 20,000. So my taxes went up quite a bit this past year. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Madam Mayor.
Well, Louise, wow, $20,000 down on the boulevard. Your neighbors better stop painting their houses then, because then the assessments is going up. It's going to go up no matter what the ratio is. And as far as the blue economy, as far as the waterfront has not declined as far as industrial. It's changed. Okay. We have more businesses coming in, and I want to thank my economic development director, Jill Cahill, Sal DiStefano, because let me tell you something, we are bringing businesses to Gloucester. As you know, you have TIFs coming in front of you. We have the industrial park. As far as Berry Pet, it's not completely full yet. So we're going to make sure that it does get full. The diversity, unfortunately, is not going to happen this year, that you're not going to see the tax base. You saw the GMGI, you saw what's going up top, you saw the new coffee company coming in, you saw the waterfronts changing, you saw Cape Ann Lobsters, where she's expanding. So we are working on that, and we do, and we offer a lot for businesses too. Okay, we do. We offer a lot for business between TIFs and grants and low interest and all of these things. The only thing that we really do offer for a first home buyers when we do have the HUD money, and this year we actually put it towards some of the businesses. I'm not asking or defending either way. I'm just saying, you know what? It's going up 2.5%. Yes, there are going to be quite a few houses that are being reassessed. It has nothing to do with what we're doing today. Okay, has nothing. That's going to be when they reassess their homes and they go after each, that has nothing to do with the rate that it is right now. I feel bad for you, Olympia. That has nothing to do. We haven't even done the tax rate yet. So that assessment that went up because different values, different assessments in different wards, different things that happens different times of the year. This rate right now, I'm asking, is just because, I could say, well, let's give more to break here, or let's make it this way. I'm just saying again, because leave it the same, is because we don't know where we're going. We really don't. It's just, it's a little bit break for the homeowners. You'll get a little bit break, the ones who are staying stable, okay? The ones who are staying stable and they already had their assessment and they already had their increase, the 2.5% is normal. The one, it just covers, like I said, the differentiality of businesses and homeowners. Yes, there's always going to be more homeowners. We're not Salem. You can't compare to that. We're not Beverly. I mean, we are based on efficient industry, efficient port, and we're always based on more homes. We're an island. So you can't have a whole bunch of new businesses. We knew that. And we didn't have big factories. We're lucky for the ones that we do have here. And you know what? We're thankful. And we work with them also. And we worked with Cape Ann Pawn Ice when he needed it. We work with everyone. I'm just saying, work with me this year. Let's keep it the same, just because we don't know what the rate's going to be and what the school and everything else that we're talking about. And we want to just make sure that everyone knows stability and what they can look forward on how they're going to pay their taxes. That's all I'm asking. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. So just so everybody knows, we're still in the counselor question part of this. We did circle back to the public and we did allow the mayor to talk, but we are still in the counselor question part of this. Is there any other counselor questions? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing and call for the committee report.
Sorry, that's me. Just trying to keep up with everybody's comments because I would like to offer some of my own. I'm going to read the motion and then I'm going to make a little statement. Budget and Finance voted unanimously by roll call to recommend the City Council to adopt a residential tax classification factor of 0.9968 that equates to a CIP shift of 1.03 for fiscal year 2021, and I so move.
I'll second.
Motion's been made by Councilor Cox, seconded by Councilor Memhard. Councilor Cox?
One of the things that I've learned after 10 years of working on tax classification is that, first of all, if you have any questions, go see Nancy because she's a brilliant resource, and the ability to explain it to you in terms that make you go, oh, okay, that makes sense. It's great because it's very complicated. We, in fiscal 2001, and I'm only going back to the dates that we have documentation on in front of us, there was a shift of 1.30 back when we had a higher CIP. When I started, we were at a factor of 1.06. I'm a huge fan of an even factor. It's an even playing field. The fact that most of our business owners are also residents is a huge component of that for me. This is probably the first year that I have not advocated for a 1.0 shift or lack of shift, I guess, because of all the changes and everything we've experienced in the last year. I think consistency is very important this year. But next year, I hope to go back to advocating for an even playing field. The reason why I say that is because, again, most of our business owners are also residents. Many of our residents are also asking our business owners to support our children, like Little League, sponsorships, all that good stuff. When they're already supporting the residents by doing this shift. So asking them on top of everything else to take more burden instead of less, I can't within my own conscience ask them to do that. So that is why I'm going to support the 1.03 this year, is for consistency's sakes. There's too many variables with the CIP this year. There's still the possibility of an appeal for the higher CIP that we're already looking at. And with everything with the pandemic, businesses closing, I think next year you're going to see a lot less CIP and a lot more residential unfortunately. So that's just my 2 cents.
Thank you, Melissa.
you.
Anybody else? Discussion, council discussion? Councilor McCarthy?
We still have a vote.
I'm going to go along with what our committee recommended to go to the 1.03. In all these uncertain times, I think that probably 2 words spell it out for everybody that's going through this is continuity and stability. And I think it's important to people. I know the businesses are hurting, but I also know that the unemployment is at an all-time high, and a lot of people aren't paying rents to landlords. So I just think staying stable this year and keeping the rate the same is an important decision. And we'll look at it again next year.
Thank you, John. Any other council discussion? Councilor Pat?
Yes, I do have comments, but I'm questioning, I'm sorry, I didn't quite follow. There was a motion made, I believe, by Chairperson Cox, and then she naturally gave her own feelings, but I didn't know, are we at council discussion at this point?
We are.
Is that where we're at?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, then, again, I had always agreed with what Councilor Cox was saying. A 1.0 was fair and even shift. And I remember all the years that Mike Costello at the chamber had advocated for that. But I appreciate the comments that Ken Reel made and the comments that the mayor put forth today. And I think with the questions about the CIP and maybe more importantly, the continuity and stability during this time of the pandemic and not knowing what's coming, that I will be supporting staying at 1.03.
Thank you, Barry. Any other councilor? Councilor Memard?
You know, I also appreciate stability in uncertain times, and if nothing else, we are in very uncertain times. My concern is that those times have a heavy impact on our business and industrial community as much, or if not more, than our residential community. That said, I'm fundamentally, as John and Barry just said, and Melissa, I'm in favor of a fair, equal rate of 1.0. I always have been. I still am today, in spite of these uncertain times. So I will be voting against 1.03, but it sounds like that's going to be the rate again this year. And I hope in the future we will get it down to an equal parity. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Councilor Gilman?
Thank you. So I'm in support of the 1.03. One of the things that I think we need to be mindful of is how this has affected this pandemic's affected every taxpayer, every resident in Gloucester, whether it be with their business struggling or just issues of unemployment and trying to figure out what to do next. I also totally appreciate the taxpayers in Gloucester voting to support a debt exclusion override. And I think that that's something that really hit home with me as well. So, I think that I'm happy we're going to stay for another year at 1.03 before, well, hopefully if the vote is such, because I just think it's been painful. And I also wanted to just mention that it was admirable that Ken Reel, who heads up the chamber, kind of is giving us a mulligan and not pushing too hard this year. And I think that is really noble. And because I know that you speak for other businesses, and we just need to do whatever we can, as long as we're safe, to keep supporting our businesses, because this has been a horrible year for them. And that's why I was excited to see the zoning that was happening for the spring and that we voted earlier. because that is telling our businesses, we want them to be creative, we want them to be outside. We will come back in spring when it's warm enough to sit outside, and hopefully we'll have 2/3 of the folks in our community vaccinated, so we'll be getting back to normalcy. So anyway, it's been a good discussion and I appreciate it. And I will be supporting the 1.03. Thank you.
Thank you, Val. Councilor O'Hara?
Thank you. I will be supporting the 1.03, but I've been an advocate, as many of my fellow councilors, of bringing it to a level playing field. Businesses have been supporting the residential marketplace for years, and it's so important to have businesses. The businesses, as a business owner, the businesses have been taking it in a huge way this year. The STEP program, which the governor just changed from the restaurant standpoint, I can't speak, I could talk for a very long time on all the problems that, as a business owner, that businesses had to deal with thus far this year, and I'm sure they will continue. So I just ask that we maintain the 1.03, but going forward, because we are a strong city, strong state, and a strong country, we will survive this and get through the COVID problems that we've been dealing with. But this time next year, that we don't forget this and we seriously look at bringing it to a level playing field. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jamie. Anybody else? Councilor Nolan?
I too will be supporting this, and I do want to thank Gary, Nancy, for all their work that's been put through this, as well as the Budget and Finance Committee. I am a business owner in this town. I understand how businesses work. I respect the needs of our businesses, but we are businesses and we do make money off our property. The small increases that we look to make it a little bit to help out the residents, it makes a difference in the minds of some people. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Anybody else? All right, just myself. I'm going to vote to stick with the 1.03 for consistency. So when I first joined the council, Councilor Cox and I, it had been 1.06 for I think 12 to 14 years. We messed with it for a little while the past couple of years, and I think messing with it again this soon is just doesn't make sense. People want to be able to move to the city and know what the tax rate's going to be, the stability. They're going to buy a home. They want to know what it's going to be. They don't want to know if it's going to go to 1.06 or an even playing field of 1 or 1.03 or 1.05. So it messes with the heads of people. So I'm going to stick with the consistency of the 1.03. I will be supporting that factor this evening. All righty. Is there anything else from the council? Seeing none, I will call for the roll call. Councilor Pett.
Yes.
Councilor Cox.
Absolutely, yes.
Councilor Gilman.
Yes.
Councilor Holmgren.
Yes.
Councilor LeBlanc. Yes. Councilor McCarthy.
Yes.
Councilor Memhard.
No.
Councilor Nolan.
Yes.
And Councilor O'Hara.
Yes.
Motion passes on a roll call vote of 8 in favor, 1 opposed.
Move to reconsider, please.
Second.
All right, motion's been made to reconsider by Councilor Cox, seconded by Councilor Gilman. All right, let's start off with the roll call. Councilor Pett.
No.
Councilor Cox.
No.
Councilor Gilman.
No.
Councilor Holmgren.
No.
Councilor LeBlanc. No. Councilor McCarthy.
No.
Councilor Memhard.
No.
Councilor Nolan.
No.
And Councilor O'Hara.
No.
Motion to reconsider fails on a roll call vote of 0 in favor, 9 opposed. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Tim. Good job, everyone. Appreciate your time this evening. And Councilor Cox hit the nail on the head. If anybody has any tax classification questions, reach out to one of us and we'll be sure to ask Nancy, or if Nancy has time, feel free to,
Sorry, Nancy.
no, I know. But thank you guys. We appreciate your time this evening. All
Thank
right,
you.
moving right along. I think we have our last public hearing. Madam Clerk, can we have the next order of business, please?
Public hearing 2020-036 to amend Gloucester Code of Ordinances, Chapter 22, Traffic and Motor Vehicles, Article 6, Traffic Schedule, Section 22.270.1, Resident Sticker Parking Only by adding Finley Road and Cedarwood Road from May 1st to September 15th only.
All righty, I'm going to open the public hearing and ask if there's anybody that would like to speak in favor. Once again, if you are calling in on a telephone, you can press *9. If you are watching or listening on a device or a computer, there is a raised hand button to be recognized to speak. So if you'd like to speak in favor or in opposition, now's the time to do it. All right, seeing nobody in favor, nobody opposed. Madam Clerk, do we have any communications?
There are none.
Do we have any councilor questions? All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing and call for the committee report, which will be done by myself. Ordinance Administration voted 3 in favor, 0 opposed to recommend that the City Council amend Gloucester Code of Ordinances, Chapter 22, Traffic and Motor Vehicles, Article 6, Traffic Schedules, Section 22-270.1, Resident Parking Only by adding as follows: Fenley Road from May 1st to September 15th only, and Cedarwood Road from May 1st to September 5th only, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilor Blank, seconded by Councilor Nolan. Councilor Nolan, you have any narrative on this?
I was approached actually before COVID from residents of Cedar and Finley on this. The influx of parking for beaches has become a problem for them. And they had looked into this. We have a petition that was signed by a lot of the residents, 13 of them. It makes sense. There is some restrictions on the road already. This will just make it more transparent. I do, however, want to ask anybody that lives in a road where there was a temporary restricted resident only parking sign applied to anything in your neighborhood to reach out to your ward counselors, because we have a larger scope on a project to restrict more areas to residents parking only for the excellent environment that we live in, and so many other people want to come to and become a nuisance. So if you could reach out to your counselors to let them know how you support or not support. I see Scott is excited, and I know that Val is as well. It's an ongoing effect of things that are happening with a change of times, and I hate to bring the news to out-of-town people that they really can't be using the streets and neighborhoods to enjoy our resources when we're limited to what we have to offer to our residents. And I will be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Anybody else? John, Council McCarthy?
Yes, one thing we did hear from Mark Cole at BNF the other night was that the parking lot revenue was down 25%, but the walk-on were increasing dramatically. So people are beating our parking lot fees and parking in the neighborhoods. And I just, kudos to Sean and Val and Scott for trying to tighten some of this up and bring the revenue back to the city. They're using the beaches and they're not paying the fees. So I think this is important.
Thank you, John. Anybody else? Okay. I agree with John. I'm going to support this evening. I don't know what it costs to take a taxi from one of these outlying areas to one of the beaches or an Uber. But a quick story to share with you guys. So my dad was the greatest, and when he lived on Cedarwood Road, God rest his soul, a car pulled up with a bunch of kids in it, and they started taking out their beach chairs and their coolers. And my dad, being like me, goes outside and asks, where they're going to, and they said, we're heading over to Wingersheek Beach. And from Wingershik Beach to Cedarwood Road, it's gotta be a good 2 miles. And he, he says, hey, you guys know how far it is? They're like, yeah, we're gonna walk. So the good guy that my dad was, threw them all in the Jeep, took them all down to the beach, let him park in front of the house, and gave him his cell phone number and said, when you're ready, give me a call, I'll come back and pick you up. So that was the type of guy that my dad was. But that just goes to show you that these people are willing to travel, walk 2 miles. 2 miles is a haul to get to the beach, kudos to Sean, kudos to Val, kudos to Scott. God bless you guys for living in a beach area, dealing with this stuff. So I will support this evening. But I figured I'd share that story about my dad with you guys. I thought it was pretty cool of him to do something like that. All right, so if there's nothing else, I will call for the roll call vote. Councilor Pat,
Yes.
Councilor Cox,
Yes.
Councilor Gilman,
Yes.
Councilor Holmgren,
Yes.
Councilor LeBlanc, yes. Councilor McCarthy,
Yes.
Councilor Memhard.
Yes, I just wish your dad were still here to give those guys rides.
Me too. I know you miss him like I do, Scott and Melissa. Councilor Nolan.
I do wish your father was still here, but I wish he'd grab an extra 20 and throw it to the city coffers.
Thank you, Sean. Councilor O'Hara. Jamie, you there? I didn't hear you. Yes? You're on mute, bud.
Sorry about that. Yes, I also want to mimic, thank you for sharing that story about your father. He's a wonderful man, and he's over your shoulder every day.
I know, yes. Thank you, Jamie.
Just want to make sure, I thought Sean made his comment, but I'm not sure that he actually gave you a vote.
He did. He said yes.
Okay.
Yes. Motion passes on a roll call vote of 9 in favor, 0 opposed. Great job, everybody. We're almost to the end of this. Madam Clerk, can we have the next order of business, please?
It's for council vote, the decision to adopt Special City Council Permit 2019-006, East Main Street, number 116, map 59, lot 53, Gloucester zoning ordinance, section 2.3.1, parentheses 8, and 1.8 for conversion of 8-unit residential dwelling, section 3.2.2, footnote E, distance between principal buildings, section 3.2.2, footnote A, minimum of lot area per dwelling unit, and section 3.2.2, footnote A, minimum open space per dwelling unit.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Second.
All right. It's been moved by Councilor Cox, seconded by Councilor Memhard and Holmgren. All right, so we all understand the motion to adopt, the move to adopt this evening. Just to give a brief overview, we had voted this last year, and it was overturned by the land court by reasons that we couldn't control. We had a executive session to weigh the possibilities of filing for a so the courts could look at this again to
An appeal.
For an appeal. Yep. I'm sorry, I'm a little tongue twisted. So we weighed all the decisions to appeal, and it came to our attention through an outside source. We asked for some outside legal and it came back that we were probably not going to win this again. So the council has decided not to appeal this, and this is where we stand there. So I'm just trying to bring everybody up to speed where we're at. So at this point, we're going to move to adopt the decision to adopt our ruling to allow the 4 special council permits to grant for Bevilacqua. I always get that wrong. So they can proceed with their special permits. On the other side of this, they could have, if we did appeal and we did win, they could have came back with a 40B and put multiple units on this property. So the uncertainty that was before us definitely outweighed the appeal process. Councilor Cox?
While I initially voted for this project anyway, I am disappointed with the state appeal process and the fact that they won't even allow us to retry this. We are being forced. I know we had an opportunity to appeal, but I don't think that it was a true opportunity based on the information we received. Therefore, I stand by we are forced to adopt this. And even though I voted for it and I'm happy that it's going to happen, I still don't like the way it's being forced down our throat. So I know under Councillor Gilman's leadership, we have improved our process. So I do very much appreciate all of the effort she's put in for making the process smoother, clearer, to avoid missteps like this from the past. So kudos to her and the P&D committee for going that extra step and making sure that these are done better. So thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Councilor Memhard and then Councilor Holmgren.
I'd just like to follow up also to say that it's sad. It's a sad moment in my view of East Gloucester, and sort of consistent with the tax classification discussion we just had, to see another long-standing and established restaurant property on East Main Street close to be converted to homes. I'm sure it'll be a beautiful project. It'll certainly help our tax base, but again, we're losing jobs. We're losing a restaurant. I know it's not been viable for a number of years, but it was at one time a very successful institution in business. And it's a sad thing to note. And I'm glad, as we said, that we've improved our process, because I think what we vote for and what we act on, we want to make sure we do our best to defend. In this case, I think it's water over the bridge and we should go ahead. But it is a passing that's unfortunate.
Thank you, Scott. Councilor Holmgren.
I would also like to echo Councillor Cox's sentiments toward Councillor Gilman. The process that we have used is much improved. And that was thanks to a great deal of work on her part and also legal counsel's part. I will say I was absolutely conscious of the fact that there could have been a 40B put in this site, and that is part of the reason why I voted the way I did. I am glad I voted the way I did. I know that it has been an emotional process, but we all, the city council and the city in general, has to understand that there is always the possibility of a 40B project coming in front of us if we do not reach 10% affordable housing stock in this city. So every affordable unit is important, whether it is at 80% area median income for the Boston metro area or less. And I am looking forward to other projects coming down the pike that will be within the 30 to 60% AMI range, which is what Gloucester really needs more of. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Councilor Pat.
Yes, I just wanted to thank Councilor Gilman for her work and seeing that as we move forward that we do a better job as a council and hopefully not getting into this type of situation again. And I also agree that regardless of what your position was on this project, that the idea of us appealing was not a financial win situation likely for us to get anywhere. So I will indeed be voting to adopt this.
Thank you, Barry. Councilor O'Hara.
Thank you. Councilor Blank, you mentioned all the reasons why at least I will be voting to adopt this, not by choice, but the percentages were extremely, extremely, extremely low that we would be successful As Councilor Cox mentioned, our hands were tied. The judicial system, I don't think, weighed out in our favor or fairness. And that is the only reason I will be, again, moving forward to adopt it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Councilor Gilman?
Yeah, thank you, councilors, for your kind words. So I was going to vote not to support the motion to adopt, but having heard all of your comments about how we're all, we've all learned from this, we're going to do a better job. I think we all learned also that when we're listening to 37 or 40 people and it's 11:30 at night and we still haven't really had a lot of time for discussion, that, you know, we know that that's a perfect time to continue a discussion to another night. You know, so that was certainly a part of this as well. And, you know, so we learned something. I don't like when developers hold us hostage to a 40B, but I think Council Holgram was eloquent. And I know Council Nolan has said the same in the past, that, you know, we need to get the numbers up to 10%. So we never have that feeling that a developer is going to hold us hostage to putting more, you know, pieces of property on a location than neighbors would like. So I think we're doing all the right things. So rather than me making my point, how disappointed I am about the results of this, I will be supporting the councilor's motion to adopt, because we're a team, we learned from it, and we're ready to move forward. And I heard the first person that spoke tonight in public comment. She asked us to kind of rally and have a conversation. I hope she's still on the call or can listen tomorrow, because I think our conversation is valid. And I think we're doing all the right things. So thank you. So I will be voting to support the motion.
Thank you, Val. Great job. Council McCarthy?
Yes, I'm also going to support not appealing this. I see a lot of people, there's still 11 attendees on the screen, all East Gloucester people. I live in East Gloucester. I was not on the council, but I was not in favor of this project. However, we had two city attorneys. We had an outsourced attorney working on this case, and the council did due diligence and asked for someone that a fourth attorney to give us an opinion on the success of an appeal, or what our chances of a successful appeal would be. And as Councilor LeBlanc pointed out, and several other councilors, we were advised that they were slim, very slim, and we are entrusted with the taxpayers' money, and I just couldn't see in good faith spending the taxpayers' money for something that four attorneys had told us we, in all probability, weren't going to prevail. And that's why I'm going to support not appealing it.
Thank you, John. Anybody else? All right, I'm going to support the decision to adopt also for all the reasons that everybody had stated tonight. And all my years on city council, which 10 years seems like a lifetime on the city council, this is a first for me and Councilor Cox. So this is uncharted territory for the both of us. I did support the development in the beginning, but I would have, if it came down to an appeal and a victory, I would have sided with my fellow councilors that would have asked for the appeal. You know, the majority of us, we do have very good dialogue, and we do have good debates. And at the end of the evening, we are a family of city councilors, and we do support each other regardless of which way we vote. And I like to keep that continuity going. So I am going to support the decision to adopt this evening. Had it been different, we wouldn't be here this evening doing this, and we would be waiting for an appeal process and to see what happened out of that. But once again, you know, holding our feet over the barrel for a 40B is just not the right thing either to do. So on that, if there's no other further discussion from the council, I will call for the roll call vote. All right, Councilor Pat,
Yes, support motion to adopt.
Councilor Cox,
Yes.
Councilor Gilman,
Yes.
Councilor Holmgren,
Yes.
Councilor LeBlanc, yes, Councilor McCarthy,
Yes.
Councilor Memhard.
I buy espressos. Yes.
I loved espressos, man. That's just a bummer.
Down East Oyster House.
Yeah, I love espressos. But anyway, Councilor Nolan,
Yes.
Councilor O'Hara,
Yes.
motion to adopt passes on a roll call vote of 9 in favor, 0 opposed. All right, great job, everyone, this evening. We're just gonna finish up our meeting, and Madam Clerk, next order of business, please.
Next order of business is the request to the mayor.
All right, in no particular order, I will start. We have Councilor Gilman and Councilor myself, LeBlanc. We're gonna go at the end. So I'll start off with Councilor Memhard and go that way.
I'd just like to say that it's honestly a pleasure to be with you all here tonight. And I urge you to enjoy your families and your friends and to stay safe. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all next year.
Same to you, Scott. We're glad you're here this evening. If you need anything, just pick up the phone, buddy. Give me a call. I'll be there in a second. Councilor Holmgren.
I want to wish everyone a very happy and safe holiday season. Whatever you celebrate, please be safe so that we can see you all next year. And it is honestly a pleasure working with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Councilor McCarthy.
Same here. Wishing everybody Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Hopefully joining with me and getting rid of 2020 and looking forward to 2021. Thank you. Good night.
Hey, thank you, John. Councilor Cox.
Wish everybody a great holiday season. Happy New Year. See you next year. The administration, thank you so much for everything that you've worked with us on over the last year. And I also look forward to getting rid of 2020, but I'm not quite sure 2021's got in store for us yet. So I am not buying an event planner though. I'm done.
Thank you, Melissa. Councilor Pat.
Yes, I would like to echo everyone else's thoughts. First of all, I want to thank all the counselors for a wonderful year and an introduction for me as a counselor. And I would like to thank all of the administration for their work getting us through this year in the pandemic, and all our frontline workers. When I say the front line, I mean not only the health workers, the doctors, the nurses, the fire department, the police department. It goes to the school department. It goes to the DPW. It goes to all of us here in the city. And I want to wish everyone a safe, healthy holiday season. And I look forward to coming back at the beginning of the year and looking forward to putting this all behind us. Thank you. Have a safe holiday season, and be well.
You too, Barry. Thank you. Councilor Nolan.
I just want to thank all the citizens and the city staff. Everybody's worked hard to get through the horrible year that we've been having health-wise. And in the spirit of the seasons, I'd like to ask everybody to try to shop local, support your artisans, your photographers. The Maritime has been having a great exhibit going on with a lot of nice crafts. There's a lot of other things happening. I want to thank Councilor Cox for her putting up with some of the situations and bringing forth some new items. Let's try to think local and take care of your neighbor. That's about it. We're only strength in numbers. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Councilor O'Hara.
Thank you. Just wish everybody a very happy holiday season. I apologize for being tardy tonight. I was at a Red Cross blood drive, and if it wasn't for people texting me where I was, I probably would have missed the whole meeting. But if anyone, as far as the holiday spirit on Christmas Eve, the 24th, we'll have another blood drive from 9 to 2 at the Magnolia Library. So it's a great opportunity to give the gift of life during the holiday season. And I want, again, thank everyone, thank my fellow counselors. And again, see you next year. Thank you.
Jamie, Councilor Gilman.
I have just a quick request to the mayor, and I see that she's not on the call, so I guess that's
popped off a
good.
minute ago.
Okay.
She'll get it. Vanessa's here.
I know. It is a request for the do not enter sign on the left side of High Street at the intersection of Hickory and High Street. My constituents called me again today just to ask me to mention that. So I also just wanted to remind the counselors that we do have a site visit on Thursday for 99A Essex Ave, 3 sessions, one at 3, one at 3:30, one at 4. Most of you have told me what one is the best for you. We're supposed to park down by where the Gull was. So that's where they'd like us to park, and make sure you bring your masks. And if there are any abutters out there or people that are really determined to come see this, please call me on 978-621-4682 so I can schedule you. We don't want our groups to be any larger than 10. So it's important that we know everybody's schedules, and first priority goes to city councilors because these are optional meetings where we don't need to be inviting the public, but we try to keep up the tradition of allowing the public to come. So I wanted to mention that. And my only other thing is thank you, counselors. Thanks for your teamwork, and wishing everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. It's going to be a better New Year. This year has been horrible.
Cross those fingers.
But groups like, I know, groups like we're all in this together, and so many folks that have worked together, we've learned about kindness. So thank you, and have a good night.
Thank you, Val. Vanessa, I see you still on the call. Gonna put you under the gun. You want to say a little something before the end of the year?
Just has been an extremely extraordinary year. You know, we've asked a lot of city staff this year. They had to be nimble and adapt to constantly changing scenarios. You know, we appreciate your patience. You know, we try to keep you informed as best we can as things are happening. Looking forward to a very promising 2021. So I hope everyone has a safe few weeks, safe holidays, and looking forward to working with you all again in 2021.
Thank you, Vanessa, and Merry Christmas to your family. Kenny, can you hear me, bud? I'm gonna put you under the gun too. You're here, so you're
Hi,
part of the
everybody.
team.
Thank you, counselors. Same here. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and hopefully 2021 will be a better year for all of us. We had a very challenging year.
Yes. Best wishes to your family, pal.
Thank you, and same to you all.
Thank you. And then Joanne, I know you talk to us every day, but last meeting of the year.
Yes, I want to wish everybody a happy holidays. I can't wait for this year to get over. It's been challenging, not only with COVID, but also doing the 3 elections during COVID. And I appreciate all the support from the public and from the counselors, and look forward to working with you again next year.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you, Joanne.
Thank you, Joanne. So last but not least, myself, it's been a crazy year. Who would have thought that I'd be sitting at my kitchen table? I'm wearing a Gloucester baseball shirt and a sweatshirt, and I went out and bought some wardrobe for being council president because I had to dress for the role. And here I am sitting on my kitchen table. Who would have thought? You know, been crazy. Hopefully, we wish for the best of 2021 and the future. I appreciate all the counselors, all the support. Like I said earlier, we don't see eye to eye, but we still work together, and it's a good feeling knowing that we can still lean on each other knowing that we agree to disagree. And Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy New Year, and best wishes to all your family. And thank you. And we're looking forward to kicking some butt in 2021, everybody. So if there's nothing else, I would call for a motion to.
So moved.
There you go.
Second.
Second. All right.
Steve, whatever you do, please don't stand up because you were bragging about what's on the top.
I have pants on, but I have no shoes. I just wearing socks. All right. So motion to adjourn has been moved by Councilor Cox and seconded by Councilor. Who seconded it? Councilor Holmgren? I don't know.
Yes,
Sure.
me and a couple other people.
All right. Moved and seconded by everyone. Councilor Pat,
Yes.
Councilor Cox,
Hell yeah.
Councilor Gilman,
Yes.
Councilor Holmgren,
Yes.
Councilor LeBlanc, yes. Councilor McCarthy,
Yes, good night.
Councilor Memhard,
Yes, stay warm. Good night.
Councilor
Get
Nolan,
in touch for your Rotary calendars.
Councilor Nolan,
Yes.
and Councilor O'Hara.
Yes.
We are adjourned. Good night, everybody.
Good night.